I just I guess it just put a big bright light in my future.
The weather has been rather horrible in Victoria. I must agree with you there. You really shot up into top 10 calculations this year.
All right, so we
Was it the
should
penny
be.
drop? What was it?
I think when Cal put me in the first Phantom Draft, that sort of
We
put
should
me in
be
there,
a bit better
the
now.
Bolter Phantom Draft, but I don't know. I think it was the last game against Northern Knights that sort of done it for me.
Well, maybe let's throw up to Cal now, because Cal, that Phantom Draft, it does plenty.
I think you're giving me too much credit there, Bailey. You should take most of it. It's a fantastic achievement. You're the number 6 picks to the Gold Coast. Now, it's been a crazy number 6 picks to...
There we go.
You also knew the Suns...
So everything should be working now.
Last 24 hours.
Thankfully.
It's been.
I'll redo the.
Glad it's sort of over. Melbourne tried
I'll
to
retweet the
trade
shares
to
and
get me, but
get it out to
Essendon
Facebook.
didn't want a bar of it, so I'm lucky enough that Gold Coast are very interested in me.
And you were keen to get to the Suns. I know we spoke a few weeks ago.
Alright,
And you did say,
that
look, I'm pretty
should
keen to get up there.
get everything,
Sam Flans
get the
as
at least to get the ball rolling.
A Gippsland power product of previous years as well. So some familiar faces for you getting up there.
Yeah, definitely. I've known Sam for a while. He went to my school and he played at my local club, Moe. So, it's going to be good to get training with them and let them show me the ropes.
Now, Bailey, I've got a bone to pick with you, because I was tuning in to Draft Countdown show and you had a little bit of a drive-by. What's that all about? Now, you know that if you just had kicked straight, right, that we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Come off it, Nat. Come on.
Look, I will give you the credit. 31 disposals that day. You were great, but kicking 4 goals 5, I mean, come on. Are you going to be a straight shooter?
It was an almost day, Nat. It was an almost day.
Well, I hope that you can get your accuracy.
Try and practice goal kicking.
Do that when you get up to the Gold Coast Suns. Congratulations, Bailey. We've loved watching your journey, and we can't wait to see what you do up on the Gold Coast.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bailey Humphrey there, and Geelong's pick is in. So with pick 8, they have.
Okay, so yeah, things look like they're working a lot better now.
Boy, they absolutely love the locals. He's actually a Collingwood supporter, if you don't mind, but happy to put on the hoops for the Cats, because that Joel Selwood comparison isn't going away anytime soon, Cal.
No, it won't, and it'll gather legs, and for good reason in a way, because he plays in a similar fashion. He is a hard-added player who continues to press up and play. He's a leader. He's understated to a degree, but when you get him going, get to know him, he's got some real inner strength and drive and determination too. So he'll become a Cats favourite. I'm sure he was already a Cats favourite, to be honest. With the amount of questions we got from Geelong supporters about Jai Clark, is he going to get to the pick? Is he going to get to the pick? Well, he's got to the pick. They've taken him. The other option, I think, would have been Ruben Jimby at this point. Probably opens the door for West Coast now to get what I think they will have wanted, him through to their selection. So a really good selection for the Cats.
Earliest pick that Geelong's had since 2006, when they took Joel Selwood with pick 7. He now retires as a 4-time premiership player and a premiership captain. So they'll bring someone in that they certainly hope can have a similar impact. But I think their midfield needed the region that it's got this summer. So obviously they bring in Tanner Bruin and Jack Bowes, because they've just lost Selwood.
You should be able to come on. You should be on the stream anyway.
A lot of these really good players
I've just got you guys on speaker.
They needed this rejig, and we spoke about Brisbane before in the sense that from a contending perspective, to have as good as off-season as they had. Look at what Geelong's done as premiers going into next year, bringing in Bowes and Bruin and Ollie Henry as well, and now they get Jai Clark, a really good midfield prospect as
Just
well.
on the Eagles as well for this next week. I think it'll be out of Jimby. Phillippo is the other option. Do they try and get in Bustling or Red Allen? I think it's probably out of Jimby and Phillippo, though. And you'd have to say that Jimby is the red hot favourite.
Well, the West Australian, why not? Sarah Ollie, let's get back out to you, because you have a French-speaking hawk with you now.
Mais oui, bien sûr, I do, Nat, and that's about as far as my French will go in this conversation with Cam McKenzie, who can speak it absolutely beautifully. But Hawthorn, tell us about their pitch to you, Cam, and if you were confident you would end up in the brown and gold.
To be honest, the Hawks don't give you much. It's been a very nerve-wracking few days. A lot of stress, but it's very good to have my name called out to the Hawks. I grew up a massive Hawks fan, so it's a dream come true.
Well, who were your idols growing up then?
I love watching Cyril, who was probably my favourite player, but also Buddy when he was there, and Sam Mitchell as well. So it's pretty cool to have him as a coach now.
Yeah, he might not be one of your favourite players if he hits you hard during the year, but talk to us about your year, because according to Cal, you didn't put a foot wrong. In fact, you just kept performing and kept stepping up every game. Talk us about your mentality.
Yeah, each week I try and be consistent with what I do during the week and my preparation going into games. So, yeah, I think I was very happy with how I was able to maintain consistency throughout the year. So, yeah, overall, yeah, very happy.
All right, well, Nat, Riley and Cal are upstairs.
Hey, Cam, congratulations, mate. It's a great achievement. You said the Hawks don't give you too much. How many times did you meet them across the year? And was the most recent one last Saturday? And in that one, did you press them? Did you say to them, hey, you're going to pick me if I'm there for you?
Yeah, the most recent one was Saturday, but no, I didn't ask that. It's a bit intimidating with about 20 of them in the room, so yeah, but they
here we
seemed
go.
interested, but I wasn't sure, so
All right.
nervous before.
Cam, I mentioned the French speaking, and we heard Sarah speak a little bit of French, which was surprising. But just take us through for our viewers and our who are just joining the draft for the first time and don't know that much about you. Just talk about your experience living over in France.
Yeah, so lived over there in 2016 when I was about 12 years old. So it was it wasn't for any work or anything. We just moved over for an experience, and it was amazing. So I went to school over there and lived down in the south in a small little village near Nice. And then, yeah, so I went to school and yeah, learnt the language. And then coming back, I've managed to keep it up, doing it at school. So it's been a great thing to have up my sleeve for school.
Excellent. Well, we're going to let you go. Before we do, can you say we are a happy team at Hawthorn in French for us?
On est en content équipe à Hawthorn. I don't think you say Hawthorn in French.
Love it. It sounded good to us.
Okay,
Thank you so much,
cool.
Cam.
So we've actually gone
Lovely to
through a
see you in
few.
brown and gold. Congratulations.
Oh, there you go. So Jai Clark did go to Geelong. Mackenzie went to
Thanks, guys.
Hawthorn.
Appreciate it.
Love that. Oui. Okay. The pick is in, and Cal, you are on absolute fire because this means you are, 9 from 9. Ruben Ginbey is a Eagle.
Yes, he is. He's been a riser, as we spoke about this year. Started his year across half-back as an
So this is St Kilda. So I think Mateus Philippou. We need to stay back from the camera so it doesn't overdo it. But yeah, Mateus Philippou's next, I believe. So he'll probably be picked up by St Kilda, which is absolutely crazy because people are definitely gonna figure out that this kid's gonna be very good very soon.
Yeah, Jimby's excellent across this season, and look, he's a good user at the footy, a really professional player as well. He's been driving up from Dunsborough and living in Dunsborough.
Yeah, so far as a recap, Cadman 1, Ashcroft 2, so Ashcroft got bid at pick 2 by the Lions, Diesel 3, Wardlaw 4, so no surprises there. Tasadas is, yeah, I don't think there was no surprises there either. Humphrey definitely was never a surprise. In fact, I think he even confirmed it yesterday. He was going to go to the Gold Coast. Mackenzie's a bit of a surprise. But yeah, obviously Hawks got him. Clark at 8, Jimby at 9, and Ollie Philippou's probably going to be pick 10.
I know they'll back themselves.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that pick.
But now they don't even have to worry about it. They've got the best one available in Ruben Ginbey. So this is the next phase of this West Coast rebuild, which the history will show us hasn't really taken too long for the Eagles. I mean, they're a side that finished down the rungs of the ladder mid-2010s and then came back and won a premiership in 2018.
Now, this is a big pick for secure. I've said all along that I think they would have taken one of Elijah Sardis, who's now off the board, Cam Mackenzie, who's now off the board, or Mateus Philippou. So I'd be surprised if it was an outsider from that. They've had interest in Elijah Hild as well. Potentially Ed Allen as a shock there, or Jed Bustlinger, but I think it'd be a surprise now if they didn't go with Philippou.
And just a note on Ruben Ginbey, a Freo fan who idolised Nat Fyfe, so a little bit awkward going to the rivals in West Coast, but I'm sure that won't matter. Let's get back to Sarah Olivo, who's out at Marvel Stadium in amongst all the action, and she has Jai Clark, a new cat, with her.
He is a new cat indeed, Nat, and doesn't have to travel too far from Queenscliff down to GMHBA Stadium. Jai, is this the realisation of a boyhood dream?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You've always dreamt to hopefully get your name read out, and finally it's happened. So yeah, it hasn't come into too much realisation now, but yeah, I'm so pumped.
And what about joining the Premiership team? Is it a little bit daunting, or are you just excited to get among some of the biggest stars in the competition?
Yeah, no, it's super exciting to be part of such a successful team. I can't wait to get down there and meet all the boys. It'll be super special.
And I know you're probably getting sick of the Joel Selwood comparisons, but they have been made throughout the year in terms of not just your game style, but your leadership, and you caught up with him. What kind of advice did you take?
Yeah, so Joel's been really good for me. I probably didn't have the best start to the year that I would have liked, and he just said to me that I need to just enjoy my footy, and I was probably putting too much pressure on myself at the start. So yeah, he was really good for me.
All right, let's go up to Nat, Cal and Riley.
Yeah, my guess is Mateus.
To get to the Cats and to be a top 10
You'll
draft
see that's
mate,
correct.
It's an awesome thing to do. Tell us about today and the last couple of hours.
Yeah, there we go. Mateus Philippou, who's the St Kilda player. Which is good for St Kilda because they definitely need a point of difference in their midfield for sure.
Yeah, thanks heaps, Cal. Yeah, I was very nervous the whole day. I didn't sleep too much last night, and the time went really long today, so I tried to get my mind off it, but yeah, I'm just happy it's finally over.
Well, Jai, congratulations. Thanks so much for joining us, and go and enjoy the evening with your friends and family.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nat. Thanks for having me on, guys. Cheers.
Jai Clark there, and St Kilda's pick is in. So with pick 10 in the 2022 NAB AFL Draft, they have taken Mateus Philippou. And Cal, you are now 10 from 10. The top 10 of your Phantom Draft is identical to what...
Yeah, I think at this point, Hollands is definitely going to be pick 11. Like, there's no doubt in my mind.
Footballer from South Australia now makes his way to the Saints, and he's going to be a pretty good fit there.
Yeah, I think he'll be great. I think this is a great selection for St Kilda. They were looking for stars through the trade period. They're looking for game breakers, for players with confidence and swagger, and players who really step up at the big moments, and he's shown that at different times this year. So I think they're always in a good position to get one of these three boys, and in the end they got one in Mateus Philippou who will be able to make an impact.
If you guys have any questions as well too in the chat, please feel free to put them in. But no, so far we've got the top 10 out, and I'm sure there's probably another 10 picks to go roughly. Given that we've had a few father and sons, so yeah, let's just hope that we get some decent talent through the door, which I'm sure we will.
Just in terms of Mateus Philippou, just really quickly, I think St Kilda needed a point of difference in their midfield. I think throughout
that's exactly what I just said.
They've gotten Jack Steele and Seb Ross had a really good year, and Brad Crouch has shown some really good form since he got to the football club. But they
outside mids was something that they needed, like a Jordan De Goey or a Petrarca or a Dustin Martin type.
We now move on to Carlton's pick, and Cal, we've spoken about.
And Philippou's definitely that.
Essendon was obviously
probably a more Bont version, but yeah, definitely an absolute star in the making.
We've also spoken a lot about how these first 10 players were going to be there in some order. Now, at the end of the day, you've got the order right, so congratulations there. But what happens here now is really interesting because it's another facet of the draft, and it starts at Carlton. I'm fully expecting them to take Ollie Hollands with this next pick, but it is another area of the draft where things could get mixed up and mashed up and there could be a little bit of carnage in terms of what goes on after.
I think Ed Allen is a big part of that as well. Do the Dogs take and look for Ed Allen ahead of Jed Bustling? I think that'd be unlikely, but if he's there...
no, you'd think Bustling would go to Bulldogs.
To be made that's interesting, I think, whether it's Ed Allen or Matt Jefferson. That's probably the one that I'm looking at next as being a bit of a shaper. And then after that, well, I think it does open up a little bit after that because we start to see the Swans who've been heavily linked to Josh Weddle, and I think if they didn't take him, then the Giants would probably grab him as well, but there is still a little bit to play out on that front.
Yeah, it's always a domino effect, isn't it? Any more news on the trade front? I know you've been on the phone, lots of messages flying back and forth. Are you hearing anything?
I think it's just more around... there's been some calls made. I think it's more just around the Swans and Giants, and we're waiting to see which players are actually available before the clubs make their bids and make their real offers for those guys and really step in and say, this is the guy that we want to make this deal for. Because until then, you don't want to jump too early and make a deal, and then the play gets snapped up and you're stuck holding the baby and going, well, I didn't want this one. This isn't the one. I want that one.
Usually don't get a choice when it comes to babies, but no, I get what you're saying.
A little Britain reference on this show, but anyway. So that is something that I think is the next pick that we'll start to be talking about. The Melbourne West Coast sort of interest there, because they're looking at similar players. Melbourne have some interest in Ed Allen as well. Jacob Ryan's been thrown up as well, and then Collingwood a little bit further on in the pool. So that's the next phase. As you say, Riley, we've entered sort of part two, I guess, of the draft in some ways, phase 3 of the draft, and that's the next grouping, and then that sort of says something a little bit to...
Yep, there we go. No surprises there.
Is in, and with pick 11, Carlton has selected Oliver Hollands, and as we know, the younger brother of Elijah, who's up at the Gold Coast Suns, is just an elite runner. We saw what he did at the draft combine in that...
You know, Carlton have definitely done well with this pick for sure.
He's just astounding.
I mean, all the talent that's been picked up so far will be great for each club, but
Carlton's a club that's targeted two-way runners for such a long period of time, as I said. They really went hard at guys like George Hewitt and Adam Cerra, who were capable of having that defensive side to their midfield game over the last couple of years. And now they've got another one in Ollie Hollands, who's shown a lot throughout the year. He averaged 24 disposals at NAB League level from Murray Bushrangers, but he also showed he was capable of playing half back and half forward, so he's got a couple of different strings to his bow. He spent the majority of the year on a wing, which is where I'd expect him to start his career as a Blue at Icon Park next year. And of course, the Blues just brought in Blake Acres. It was a real area of need for them over the off-season. Now they've gone back-to-back and strengthened that area. So he's another one that I wouldn't be shocked if he does play a bit of footy next year. They've been a club for a long period of time that's shown they're happy to throw blokes in straight away. We saw Jesse Motlop play a lot of football last year. So childhood blue bagger as well.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, I love that link. That's really nice. Hey, with pick 10, it was St Kilda that selected South Australian Matthias Filippo, and he's now standing by as a new Saint with Sarah Ollie.
Well, Matthias, how does it feel to be the newest Saint? You said, take me to Victoria. I want the big stage. You must be pumped.
Oh, definitely. You know, I don't really have, I'm lost for words, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's an unbelievable feeling, and I can't wait to get stuck in with the boys. So.
Well, while you're trying to find your words, what do you make of St Kilda, and what do you think you can bring to the club? Because you are quite a versatile player who can play in a number of positions.
Yeah, well, you know, looking at the list, it's very exciting. I think it's young as well, one of the youngest. And, you know, I guess with what I'm going to bring, I'm going to bring hard work and, you know, the want to get better. And, you know, hopefully that rubs off on my teammates. But, yeah, I'm just so excited to learn, you know, things from my teammates as well.
Have you spoken to Ross yet?
I haven't, but I'm very excited to meet him, there's no doubt. Yeah.
All right, well, let's go up to Cal Riley and Nat.
Matthias, well done, mate. It's a great achievement again to be picked in this part of the draft. Tell us about St Kilda's interest across this year and what that was like, and when you started to get a sense that you could be in the mix for them.
Yeah, I guess so. Saints were, you know, relatively keen, like very consistent with everyone else along the year. And, you know, I spoke to James pretty recently, you know, me and Dad at the house, and, you know, we definitely at that point were thinking, you know, it'd be pretty awesome to be under Ross and with the group. And, yeah, very exciting.
Who are you going to be getting a lift to training with? Because you won't have your licence yet, will you?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it'd be pretty awesome to go with Nasai, knowing, you know, SA boy and, you know, over with the Saints. But, yeah, we'll have to see what happens.
Well, congratulations, Matthias.
Here we go.
What you do at St Kilda, and of course, happy birthday for about, a month.
They're going to bid on Fletcher. God, that's a bit higher than what they probably would have expected.
Filippo there with Sarah Ollie. I've never seen him lost for words, so it's actually really brilliant that he is now a Saint. And as we can see here, the Brisbane Lions are weighing up whether they match Jasper Fletcher here. So the Bulldogs actually springing this one and placing a bid. This is a little bit of a surprise.
A little bit. Been linked to them in the lead-up. This could be the Josh Dunkley payback. So Josh Dunkley goes to the Lions through the trade period. The Bulldogs get their chance to make the Lions pay just a little bit more through the draft for Jasper Fletcher.
Oh,
so,
like
look, he's been ranked around this part of the draft. There's a reason he was attending the draft as well. So, right in this mix for draft night. And look, he's a wingman who has got real class. He's going to be sitting out this first part of his pre-season with a back stress fracture that was picked up recently, but that's nothing major. He'll be fine by the start of next year. But look, a really classy player, great skills on both feet, and had a really impressive season. So I can see why the Lions would have placed, would be matching the bid, and I can see why the Bulldogs would have placed the bid as well at that point of the draft. Because I think they were also interested in Ollie Holland, so clearly they were looking at that part of the ground and saying, well, this is the guy that we could sort of add to our group.
So much strength in depth at the Lions next season. I mean,
it's ridiculous.
Let's have a look back at their midfield group now.
You'd think the Lions would
Lachie Neale, Jared
snap him
Carey,
up though.
Hugh McCluggage, Jared
I don't think they
Lyons,
hesitate.
Jasper Fletcher. They've got so much strength in depth now. It's a real win for the Lions.
Wait, pick is in. So did they not accept it?
So I'm looking forward to watching next year. I think they're the side that has to go on next year and win a flag. I think they're going to be under a bit of heat in the sense that they do have to win the flag.
Yeah, there we go. Matched it.
Translate this into a premiership eventually. And I think
Am I live on this?
Well, they broke some hoodoos.
I think it says I'm live, but
so who knows what's possible next year. And the Lions pick is in, and we assume that they will match that one, which means the Bulldogs are back on the clock.
bid match. There we go.
13 now as things get shuffled about. But let's head back to Marvel Stadium now.
And now Buzzling should be the next one off the ranks.
Ollie, the latest Blue. Start off by telling Blue Bagger fans just how quick you run 2 kilometres.
Yeah, so, lately I think my quickest 2K was 5:54, so...
Fast! That is lightning fast, and it's your endurance that you pride your game on, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's, definitely one of my main strengths, and I think it's probably, my strength that makes me the footballer I am.
Now, the Blues are looking for some depth on the wing, and Michael Voss, their coach, he gave you a personal tour of the new facilities. Can you tell us what it was like walking around with Vossy at Icon Park?
Yeah, it was a bit strange. He actually caught me by surprise. I didn't realise he was taking me on the tour, but no, it was awesome to get to meet Vossy and to have the 30 minutes I think I had with him. But for what he said, I think a few days ago about how they're looking for outside mids, I think definitely made me feel a little bit more comfortable, and it just made me super excited.
Now, if people at home are thinking that this space looks familiar, it's because it does. Your brother, Elijah, he plays for the Gold Coast Suns. What kind of advice has he given you, if any?
Yeah, no, Elijah's been awesome. I think a lot of the advice has sort of been about just enjoy the moment and, make the most of the opportunity.
Am I the crazy one in thinking he probably looks a little bit like Brown, like Cal? He looks so much like Cal Brown. Even just the way he talks and sounds. I don't know, maybe I'm just crazy.
Childhood Carlton fan, what does it mean to become a Blue?
Yeah, it's pretty special. Having Sam Walsh present the jersey as well makes it even more special. But it's amazing for me and the family. So couldn't be happier.
What's the last sort of 24 hours been like for you? Did you have an inkling where you'd be going, or were you completely in the dark?
No, I didn't have any, not much of an idea at all. I think the greatest inkling I had was probably what Vossy said in the media the other day. But no, I think, there's obviously been a bit of a build-up, and it's been super exciting. And to finally be a Blue Bagger, I guess, it's pretty exciting.
What a thrill for you. We're so happy for you, Ollie. Go and enjoy the night, and thanks so much for chatting to us on Draft Night Live.
Thank you.
Yeah, Carlton's certainly got a good one with Hollands, that's for sure.
About 2 minutes left. What do you think they're mulling over here?
I think it's a big decision for them. I mean, they've had a pretty active trade period in the sense that they've brought in...
You'd think they go Buslinger. I think he's probably the best talent right now, and they probably need a key defender.
But they've also lost some players. I mean, we know that Zane Cordier player they looked to retain as a free agent. They offered him a contract to stay at the club, but he opted to go.
Oh, they've got a lot of key position, but I don't think they have specifically a key defender. I mean, you could probably throw Norton back there, but I mean, do you want Sam Darcy to be a defender when you'd probably want him as a ruckman or forward? Who knows? And I'm sure there's... I know they picked up Liam Jones, but wouldn't hurt to have a little bit of depth. Because I mean, I don't think you'd want like a top grade midfielder. You'd rather want your A graders like balanced throughout the ground. Here we go. Pick is in. So you probably, I mean, it'd be great to have a whole bunch of A graders in your midfield, but you know. There we go, Jed.
They have gone with the East Perth prospect there, the defender. So good news for the Bulldogs and good news for you, Cal, because you had them there taking Jed with your Phantom draft.
Yeah, we'll say that's 13 in a row.
Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah.
It is. It's 13 in a row. That's a tick.
The Fletcher bid is coming anyway, regardless. So
Exactly.
we'll keep trucking along. We're happy with that. Yeah, he's got some real ability. I think it's going to be.
Yeah, I'd be happy to give him the 13 in a row because you just never know.
He's coming off this shoulder injury. He's going to have a sort of reduced.
And it's such a pain in the ass predicting that shit too.
But yeah, I think that what we're seeing from Jed Bustlinger and the Bulldogs is just invest in the best talent and the best fit for your group and back yourselves in as a young group. And now, over the past 3 years, you pick Jamari Ugle-Hagan, you pick Sam Darcy, and you pick Jed Bustlinger with consecutive first-round selections. Geez, not many clubs will have that sort of key position quality coming through.
And they added them to Aaron Norton, Rory Lobb, Josh Bruce, Alex Keith, Ryan Gardner. So they've already got a big, and of course they got, as we mentioned, they've brought in Liam Jones as well as a free agent. So they've already got so much key position stocks. I'm fascinated to see where this leaves Sam Darcy and what end of the ground he plays in going forward. I think that's going to be really interesting. As will the next few picks in the draft, because West Coast will be up with their second pick very shortly, and there's been a lot of talk around what they might do.
Well, I think this is a decision probably between Ed Allen, who's the local wingman midfielder, and Matt Jefferson, the key forward. The other wild card potentially is Elijah Hewitt. He's an option potentially at this point, but I think it's those two who are most likely to make up what this pick is decided by the Eagles. So big call to come.
And they've already taken Ruben Jinby with their first pick, which came at pick 9. Sarah Ollie, let's get back to you. You're doing a fabulous job out there at Marvel Stadium, and you have a new line in Jasper Fletcher with you.
Guys, if you have any questions in the chat, feel free to put them in too. We got West Coast for the next pick, which so this is where it's going to get a bit harder to pick. So maybe like an Ed Allen potentially. Like, I know there was a bit of interest around that pick around for him.
Yeah, it's very special to be joining a club that Dad played for and 100 games.
Or Elijah Hewitt could be pick 12.
And can't wait to get started.
And starting with a young group, with so much talent and so much potential, were you just ready to get in there straight away? Of course, you can't get in there straight away.
In fact, let's actually get up the Phantom draft because that'll probably refresh my mind on a few players because I'm just going off the top of my head currently as we speak.
All right, let's go to Nat.
Jasper, you pick 12. Will Ashcroft pick 2. Two father-sons heading up. Tell us about your bond with Will.
Yeah, no, me and Will have been pretty close over the years. Played Queensland under-12s together, and then they spent a period where he was down in Vic. But yeah, last pre-season with the Lions, we got super close and can't wait to get started with a player who's, you know, such a
I believe Hewitt will probably be the one.
Jasper, congratulations. We can't wait to see what you do with the Lions.
So, is it Hewitt?
From that injury.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Jasper Fletcher there. Well, West Coast pick is in, and we're so intrigued to see what they do. Do they go with a local? Do they go with a Victorian? And, well, they've already had a pick in this year's draft, and it was Ruben Jinby, and they have taken Elijah Hewitt. So
there we go, Elijah Hewitt. So, who was it? The next one was Jefferson, because I think Melbourne probably need like they don't need a key forward that's ready, but they need a key forward that, you know, if Brown or not Wiedemann because he's now gone. McDonald, that's it. That's what I was thinking of. But they don't really have. I mean, they have Jacob Van Ruin, but I think you'd probably want another key forward in that sort of area.
Moves in the later part of the first round, if that sort of pushed the Eagles.
Because I think that's roughly where they'd probably want. Because you don't really want a mid, definitely don't want a ruck. So I'd say you'd either want a small forward or a small defender or key defender at that point.
Essendon was a watch here in the sense that you'd spoken so much about their.
Or maybe a wingman. Because
potentially targeting Elijah Hewitt. Do you think
I'm trying to think of the dude's name. Jaden Hunt. Jaden Hunt went to West Coast, so maybe they'd probably want a bit of pace on the wing.
Because what this coming in means that there's an opportunity for someone to push back, and you never know who's going to be available there.
Can I ask you as well? I mean, we've spoken about Ed Allen, his potential now. What's his range, do you think? What clubs would be in the mix for Ed Allen? Because one that was coming sort of late, given his incredible exploits at the Combine, as a potential top 10 pick. What mix do you reckon he's in now?
Well, we look who's to come. We have the Swans up after the Demons. I think that this will be Jefferson ahead of Ed Allen.
Yep.
That's my feel on this one. The Swans, the Giants would look at Ed Allen. I think there's a real unlikelihood that he gets past Collingwood's pick as well. Okay. So if he's there at the Pies, I think they look very strongly at him too. So I think he's in the next batch of selections.
All right, the time is on for Melbourne. They've got about 3 minutes left to make their selection. Let's check in though with Sarah Ollie, who has a new Bulldog, but also an Oz Kicker of the Year in Jed Buslinger.
Well, Jed, the odds are stacked against you when you're a WA boy. The likelihood is that you are going to have to move out of your home state. You're moving to the Western Bulldogs. How does that sit with you?
Yeah, it's really good. Coming into the year, I knew that chances are that I wouldn't be staying at home, and when Eagles had pick 2, that sort of became reality. So, yeah, I'm super happy to be going to the Bulldogs.
Here we go, late mail.
I can learn off, and I'm really grateful for them to give me an opportunity.
Well, which players in particular are you hoping to learn off? Because as you allude to, they've got some nice tall players.
Yeah, down back probably.
There you go. So Ed Allen was predicted to go pick 13,
So I forgot his name.
which was West Coast's pick, but they went Hewitt instead. But I believe West Coast had another pick.
How is that shoulder of yours? Because you did undergo that.
In fact, I need to head off real quick.
Really well. Almost, just started running last week, and the aim is to be back fully training by the middle of January. So I'm still on target there and got a fair bit of movement back. So yeah, it's going well.
All right, let's go to Cal, Riley, and Nat.
As Nat said, Jed, you are a former Oz Kicker of the Year. Did Joel Selwood, who's been a mentor of yours over the years, did he give you any draft day advice or shoot you a text message in recent days?
Yeah, I did the NAB video with him a couple of days ago, so I only saw him on Saturday and just said, just enjoy it, just soak it all up. Only happens once, so yeah, just have fun.
I did actually see you from across the road strolling through Docklands a few days ago. So you've been in Melbourne for a few days. Have you sussed out where you might want to stay? There was the likelihood growing that you might be a chance at the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I did read a few things that had me linked to the Bulldogs, but I couldn't buy into it too much. It's plenty to play out. So yeah, I'm really happy that this is how it's turned out, and get to move across to Melbourne.
Well, good luck with the move, Jed, and good luck at the Western Bulldogs. Thanks so much for joining us on Draft Night Live.
Thanks for having me.
Jed Buslinger there. Melbourne's pick is in, pick 15. So if you're just joining us, things have shuffled around just a little bit because we've had a couple of bids. Will Ashcroft, of course, at the Brisbane Lions, and Jasper Fletcher joining him a couple of picks ago. And Matt Jefferson is now a Demon, a key forward, Cal, and that's exactly where you had him going in your Phantom Draft.
Yeah, I think they've been long admirers of him. He can mark overhead. He's been clearly the second best key forward in the pool behind Aaron Cadman at the top of the draft. Kick 7 this day, 5 1/4, was on the end of everything. Seen him dominate a few games actually with his overhead marking and straight kicking as well. He just knows how to kick goals, and there's a part of that that can't be taught, and he's got that bit. So I think with some development, he'll be given time, but I look ahead to what Melbourne have brought through, Riley, with Jacob Van Rooyen last year. He's a very different player to Jacob Van Rooyen, but you set up your future by grabbing those two together.
You do, and there's a bit of immediacy involved in it as well, in the sense that there are issues throughout the year with forward-half connection, and when Tom McDonald went out of the side, they searched for ways to unlock Ben Brown. They obviously played Mitch Brown for certain periods. They played Luke Jackson forward for certain periods. He's now left the club. So a key forward support was definitely something that was needed for them, and they've now got two that will be able to take them forward for the next 10 years in Jacob Van Rooyen and Matt Jefferson.
I think there'll be some calls being made at this point, because I feel like the Swans have put their pick up for sale, potentially. The Giants have got their pick up for sale at the next one, which started the draft at 17, but obviously is now at that point. So it started at 15, now it's at pick 17. Those two picks are up for sale. So I think Melbourne would be getting on the phone as well. They've been willing to offer future first to get up to pick 4, which was the Bombers pick. So I think now they'll be making the call and saying, well, how about a future first for pick what are we at, 16 and 17?
Right, so
get up and take one of these guys.
yeah, there you go. Thought they'd go Jefferson.
Pick 14, which is now pick 16. He said straight away, well, we're trading it. I don't know how, it was a good question from me, actually. Yeah, thank you. But I'm not sure how much we can believe what Kinnear says, because he doesn't
He
always
likes
tell
to
the
jest
truth.
at times. But I think the other part, like, just to give some insight into our viewers tonight, like, we're talking about these phone calls and you're running hot and you're in a room, the clubs are all in a room together. There's a number of different recruiters, list managers and people in that room. Is there one person whose job is to answer the phone?
Well, often the list managers...
Oh, has there been a trade? Because, oh no, probably not, because, how many father sons have we had so far? 2? So this would be, what, pick 14?
This is the best offer we got. But in the case of Swans, for instance, who are on the clock now, I think Kinnear Beatson would be making the calls and then going back to the team and saying, well, okay, Melbourne's willing to pay this. St Kilda's had some interest in moving as well. They've been moving around their future first and how that would swap. A little bit more complicated, some of the deals that they've thrown together than just a straight, pure future first-round pick. But Melbourne have 2 of them next year that they're willing to dangle, and this could be around the mark where they do that. So really interested to see if a deal is struck. If it isn't, Josh Weddle's been a player who's been in the mix for the Swans pick at this point.
Who does the Swans need? The Swans might need
if available, Jacob Constanti as well as a small forward. I think
they probably just want to take best available. Probably a ruckman. They probably want a ruckman. So would they just go for Barnett then? Alright, but Barnett seems like he'd be more achievable a little bit lower though.
He thinks that they do need a bit of key forward support. Whether or not it's at this point of the draft or not is another question entirely. But he said Sam Reid and Buddy Franklin, their 2 main key forwards this year, might be.
I wouldn't be surprised if even Sydney go after Ryan.
They might need a foil for him going forward.
But they can definitely go after.
That need either here or later on in the piece. But they're a fascinating club. I don't know if we're moving on to phase 4 of the draft, maybe.
So this is Sydney's first pick for tonight. They have another one in.
Because I think Rampy's not getting any younger.
Giants as well.
And Barnett's probably a little bit too early.
They did, of course, take Cadman with their number 1 selection. You can see their Sydney's picks, and they are such a talented list, Riley. I mean, they probably exceeded expectations, I would say, in 2022. And
I got this feeling Weddle sounds like a Sydney player. I don't know if that's just
such a well-run club.
Yeah, they are a very well-run club and they're a very well-coached club as well. I think they're fine in terms of midfield depth, and I really like what they were able to do this year when they shifted Tom Papley in there a little bit more as well. I wonder if they could use a bit more size in the back line as well, which is, I know Cal's obviously linked Josh Weddle there in his phantom draft, but it makes sense for me for them to take a key position defender in the sense that they've already looked in that area of the field during the trade period when they brought Aaron Francis.
Yeah, there's nothing. I mean, maybe a key forward because of Franklin. Franklin's going to be retiring soon. Oh, but then again, they've already got a few too many. So
it's going to be fascinating. Time's running out in the Swans. So Kinnear either...
I'm feeling an extension.
Extra time could be happening. And he did flag this as well.
Yeah.
That there might be some extra time called or needed or required at this time of the draft because the phone calls will be coming in red hot. Now, there are only 5 picks left tonight.
Yes.
So we've got the Swans coming up, the Giants, Collingwood, Sydney, and then the Giants once more. Of course, that can change if a trade is made, but there won't be any more than 5 selections for tonight left over.
Or if bids are made on
bids
Max
are made.
McElhaney, and there's Harry Rouston as well.
That's true as well, and Max McElhaney will be in that mix at the moment as well. And as you say, Rouston was in that mix too for a bid. So
here we go. They've made a bid.
They've made a bid, and it's Harry Rouston.
Wow. Okay, so Harry Rouston, the bid comes now. So
there we go.
Interesting. I mean, do you think they're actually just buying time here?
Well, no. The other thing this does as well is it forces the Giants to make a decision because they've got picks. As you mentioned, 3 first-round picks that are going to be shifted back if they do elect to match a bid here.
Yeah. This is not what was in the Giants' plan.
Yeah,
that's fair to say. This would not be what they were planning.
Gosh, can you imagine Adrian Caruso at this point?
Well, it's not ideal for them because their plan would have been to trade one of their.
So Jacob Constanti, Jacob Ryan.
Which is coming in obviously.
Because after because if they agree to this, we get the next pick.
Their picks hand is going to look so 17.
Oh no, sorry, no, my bad. Sydney will just get the next pick. That's right.
I think ideally the plan was that he was going to get through these batch of selections, and then they could make some moves after that.
Yeah,
I was going to say the next time.
That's the thing though, because Husworth's going to be around that second round. I reckon we're going to go with Hayes with our first pick, and being a key, like knowing how desperate we are for a key defender, and a Jordan Roughead type of key defender, we have to get Hayes.
His boarding in Victoria as well, so that's why he was playing in the NAB League in Victoria. But
So fingers crossed. Because I'm not a fan of Jacob Ryan, and I'm more confident we're not going to get Jacob Ryan because Derek Hine today, you could just see his facial expression was like, oh, huh? We're picking up Jacob Ryan, so hopefully we're going after Hayes. Because I believe Hayes has been the player that we've been looking at for a while. Because before, who was the one before Ryan? There was Ryan, then there was somebody else, and then I think it was Hayes prior to that. Maybe it was Huswaite. Maybe Huswaite was one I was thinking of.
In their contingency planning, so they would have had plans for this. It's just fascinating now because no one really has any indication as to which way they will go.
Do you think they'll, what's your gut feel? I mean, I know you're very close to the recruiting team, the Giants as well. I mean, do you have a sense of how they rated Harry?
Did we ask Adrian last night about where he was going to be bid?
I think we did, but he said that our plan is to use the 3 or 4 picks and then potentially shift one out and get him as our 5th. So I don't know if that gives us an illusion on the way.
Well, and they had pick 31, so I think the worst case would have been that big come in the 20s. And I think if Rowston had got through the Swans, they were the main threat. Collingwood had some interest, but I don't know if they were going to make.
How tall is Ed Allen? I don't believe he's that tall.
Let's make no mistake as well. If he had have got through the first round of this draft,
I mean, I know what he can provide.
It's the fact that it's come this early is where the question starts to get raised.
It is certainly a dilemma for GWS as we wait to see what they do here, whether they match
194 centimeters.
maybe a little bit cheeky.
Oh, jeez.
But I mean, Harry Rowston, as you just pointed out, a good midfielder.
I'm wondering as well, Cal.
I mean, under the under the Buckley and Eddie management, I could see us going for an Ed Allen, but positionally, we need Hayes. We need Hayes.
The next picks that they have coming through, which are now 20 and 21, they still got the same appeal to the clubs that have still been keen on them. So that's what all the phone.
But even Giants, I mean, Giants need a key defender. They could very easily pick Hayes, but then I mean they could pick Ed Allen as well too.
Jason McCartney would be a part of those discussions, right?
Pickers in.
The Giants have also got to make
They've matched.
But look, in the end, he's a quality player. So whichever club gets him, we'll be happy with him. And there is the local factor.
I think it said it matched, didn't it?
Giants, and you've lost a couple of midfielders through recent times as well. That has to be part of your thinking.
All right, well, the pick is in as we wait with bated breath to see what the Giants have decided to do. They've run down the clock. They've taken most of their time to make this decision, which wouldn't have been in their plans, and they've decided to match the bid. So they take Harry Rowston there with pick 16, which means the Sydney Swans are back on the clock. They have another 5 minutes as we.
But yeah, guys, in the or people in the chat, what who would Sydney need the most? Because I don't think that they would need. Would they need a Lewis Hayes?
But also the Giants lost some midfielders through the trade period as well, so that would add to their young group there.
I don't think they'd need a Lewis Hayes.
Provided the Giants with a lot of their inside support, which is what Harry Rowston will add. So I had an area.
Well, we've only got one more pick, so.
Period as inside midfield support, they get a player in Harry Rowston who will provide that. And I know we've spoken. They finished second last this year. Third last. Sorry, they've had their issues on field. It's a rebuild stage with Adam Kingsley coming into the club. But you put
it's I want either Hayes or Huswaite. Because I've got a feeling that GWS might snap up Huswaite. Because they're going to need a lot of midfield depth. And I feel like that they'd be very prone to be picking up Huswaite. So I've just got this feeling that, we may be risking it if we don't pick Huswaite. But then again, if we're not picking Hayes, we're definitely risking it with Hayes.
It's a win for the Pies that they probably didn't expect going into the night.
Well, they did have some interest in Rowston, as I mentioned, and I don't think they were going to bid in the end. It felt like he was probably going to have some priorities, in my view, of what their board was looking like. But now the Swans, do they take Josh Weddle? Do they bid again on Max Michelini? I think that could be a chance. I don't think that's out of the realms as well as another father-son bid at this point of the draft.
Could a trade still come?
Well, that could still come as well, and clubs will be, I'm sure, on the phone, and that's why they are taking their time, and it's going a little bit slower at this point because these.
Because I'd definitely be trading 25 and 51 to 20 if I could. If I thought Huswaite was gone by pick 20, I'd definitely do that trade. I'd probably even do 25 and 27. And even probably chuck in 51 and try and get 2 picks that way.
Recap what has happened so far on night 1 of the draft. And Aaron Cadman, of course, was the number 1 pick as we see there. The Giants making that selection, which was no surprise to us. And then North Melbourne had the next couple of selections.
But yeah, Ed Allen is probably a choice. Constante is probably another one. I don't think Constante's been picked up yet.
The number 2 draft pick in this year's draft. And Sheasel and Wardlaw ended up at the Roos. Sardis, that was the big one. We were all thinking about what was going to happen at pick 4, which ended up being pick 5 at Essendon, and they ended up not trading out that pick. They stuck firm with Elijah Sardis, which Cal had in his Phantom draft. So things panning out very, very nicely in that sort of top 10 for Cal's Phantom draft. He was on point for the first 13, and then maybe a slight little curveball with Jasper Fletcher, that bid coming early there from the Western Bulldogs, but they still...
It's not surprising, but I mean, we all thought it was around that mark. Somewhere between 10 to...
Their first pick on night 1.
I don't know, 10 to...
Of course, they have another pick to come in a couple as well. After Collingwood make theirs, and we're nearly at the end of night 1 of the 2022 NAB AFL Draft.
It was definitely on the higher end of the assumption, but it was still within that bracket.
Longer, Cal.
Oh yeah, we love it.
We do
Not quite there yet, though. Now there's still 5 or so selections to come, and I'm really interested to see who's picked, but also who's left over, and who can be the story of the Matt Johnson story of this year. Whereas last year he was overlooked. And lasted till day 2, but then became the it player overnight.
The number 1 pick of night 2.
And Dev Robinson's been that story as well back in 2019. There's been different examples of players who've been the player to get through. Could it be someone like Ed Allen? I'm not sure. I still think that he's going to be right in the mix over the next couple of selections, but it wouldn't surprise me as well if he was there available a little bit deeper. And then you start to think about what St Kilda and what Hawthorn and what Essendon clubs who have that interest in trying to get into the first round, what they will be doing as well.
They're taking their time again, so the full 5 minutes can be used again. The agitators in this year's draft.
The agitators.
Kin's a good agitator, we know that. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. You mentioned Max Michelini as being a possibility. He's in a very similar type player to Josh Weddle, who was linked there a lot throughout the draft process as well. So keen to see what they're doing.
Jeez, they're taking their time, Sydney.
It feels like a bid if they get into this point of a trade.
No. Here we go. A pick is in. We'll see what they decide to do here. The Sydney. Oh my goodness, they're on bid central. What are you doing, Kenny Beatson?
Interesting.
Team. Just take us through what this means in terms of Max Michelini, because this is a little bit different in terms his dad, Jim, played 211 games for Norwood in the sample, but he is eligible to go to the Adelaide Crows under the father-son rule.
Yeah, under that old father-son rule that suggests that if you play 200 plus games in the sample league, that then qualifies you as an Adelaide father-son prospect. So he will join them. I'm sure they'll match this. I'd be staggered if they don't. Adelaide, they traded their second-round pick out for a future second-round pick as part of that deal with North Melbourne during the pick swaps window. So that managed to give them some space to match this bid with later picks. So as we see here, they're losing some of those later picks, but managing to still keep, I guess, a foothold late in the draft that they might use tomorrow night on a player. So, look, he's a really good player. He's the Dane Rampy of this year's group, and that's probably why Sydney like him, to be honest. He's a stopper. Every good team needs and has a Max Michelini type of player. Harry Sheasel told me earlier this year that he was the toughest player he played against. And
a few players actually said that in the grill, Yeah,
so and he's got that ability to stop and just put blokes to sleep, really, in the way he plays, and in a really good way. So I think the Crows will match this, but I can also, and we predicted this bid coming through as well from the Phantom draft too, that the Crows would have to match it and move up. But they were another club that if the bid had slipped into the 20s, I think they would have been tempted to use their future second for next year, which is tied to North Melbourne, to buy back into the first round tonight. But under this scenario, that's not going to happen.
And they've done some forward planning with this. They did a trade in between the trade period and the draft in anticipation of a bid falling here for Max McLean.
Yeah.
They traded into the second.
And that was a good deal.
Next year. Yeah, it was a good deal that benefited both clubs. They obviously did that trade with North Melbourne. So benefited both clubs at the time. Again, I'm fascinated to see how it actually changes Sydney's plans for what they ultimately do. Because you imagine Adelaide matches this bid and then they're still on the clock with 2 of the next 3 picks. Are they still after a key defender, a 190-ish centimetre defender? Because Josh Weddle's that type who's been linked to him a lot. Dane Rampy's 33 next year, so obviously coming to the twilight stages of his career. And you have to imagine, again, that this is a pick from Sydney with the intention of hoping this player gets to them. So if they're hoping for a player in the Max Michelini mode, is Josh Weddle the next one available?
Just on this as well, we mentioned as well.
Okay, there we go.
So match just on the bid too, the Jasper Fletcher, Josh Dunkley factor. Is there a little bit of overhanging Jordan Dawson?
Oh my goodness!
This is the pick. This is the pick that they received for Jordan Dawson being traded last year. So recruiters have long memories. I'm not saying that's necessarily why. I think he was rated amongst a lot of clubs top 20, but it's just an interesting.
That is hilarious. All right, well, the Adelaide Crows have matched the bid. So
That is low key. That is pretty hilarious if that's
more about him because last year
if that was the intention.
MVP in South Australia's under-17 side.
Yeah, and he can stop players, and I like that about him. As you say, he's the son of Jim Michelini, who's a star and 4-time premiership player at Norwood, and was a star, obviously, in that competition. And Michelini's been a star in his own competition at under-18 level this year. Not a huge ball winner. I don't think he's going to be the type whose highlights package, although this is a nice goal, so this one I don't think his highlights package is going to jump off the page. Yeah. But he's a player who you can see slotting into an AFL side and playing on talls, smalls, in-betweens. And
I can definitely see him play around one. Like, the kid is pretty good.
Go and stop players. Because it takes... Not all players are born defenders. Like, some players want to go and find the footy and do their own thing. He's happy to stop them.
And the Crows have found a couple of those unheralded types of defenders in Jordan Butts and Nick Murray over the last couple of years who have had a really good senior impact. Tom Doedee is obviously the leader back there, but might need a bit more support. So just from an Adelaide perspective, he's a player that they obviously knew they were going to get. They nominated him as a father-son prospect, but someone that they will have impact their side in a good way. We've spoken a lot about the machinations around what this means for Sydney and what this means for them going forward. But in terms of what Adelaide are getting here, they're getting a really good player that will also add a bit more depth. Let's not forget they moved Billy Frampton into a defensive role last year, and he obviously leaves the club for Collingwood. So they did need a bit more depth in their key defensive stocks, and that's what they get with Max McLean.
So will the Swans now go for Alan Davey?
Just to continue the theme, who else have we got? What other bids can they make?
Does anyone know? Does anyone know how long Sydney's had this pick for? I swear, Sydney's had this pick for like 20 minutes.
You've done well tonight with the Phantom Draft, but you have. You let yourself down. Cal, but just on the Adelaide Crows there, I mean, what they're building here is quite good because Isaac Rankin comes in. You've got Josh Rochelle in that forward line. That forward line is looking very nice at the moment. The midfield, Rory Sloane's going to come back. He's going to be like a new recruit. I think there's some promising signs for the Crows.
Yeah, and they've gone to the draft really hard in the past couple of years, haven't they? And we know the Rochelle pick last year was an awesome one, and we've seen signs of his performance already. This year, they used their first pick 5, which has turned into Bailey Humphrey, as you spoke about earlier, Riley. Now the Suns used that pick 5 to bring in Isaac Rankin, who's only 4 years into his career, and he's going to be pretty electric in the forward line already. He's the pride of South Australia, I think, over there for the Crows fans. He hasn't even played a game yet, so he's exciting. But they knew that Michelini was going to come through, and he's got a younger brother as well in a couple of years.
Oh, really?
Too, coming through the system. So
similar player or not sure?
We'll see. Okay. Still a little bit to go before he's on the radar, but does have another one coming through potentially there for the Crows. But this was a planned move from them. They are able to get their job done in the trade period, knowing that this player was going to be available to them.
Okay, well, run us through.
Oh, geez, okay.
The trade is in because you can see here Hawthorn is on the
future second and a future third to get into this pick.
Yes.
Plus 27.
Okay, so Hawthorn has jumped up a little bit here.
I did just mention how the Hawks, Saints and Bombers were in the mix, and the Hawks have obviously used some of their future picks to do this.
And there's obviously a player they have on their list they want.
Yeah, and it could be
Who
Ed
could it
Allen.
be?
It could be Ed Allen. It could be Josh Weddle. It could be Jacob Ryan potentially as well. Jacob Constanti's another one who could be in that mix.
How many games was Ben Allen off 100 for Hawthorn? I think it was 98, wasn't it? It was like a Noah Anderson repeat with Dean Anderson.
That would be amusing, wouldn't it, in a way, to have done that. But, yeah, there's still a couple there that I think would be on the board and players that they've shown interest in. So, that's a big trade. That's a big trade.
And let's not forget, Hawthorn are a club that's tried to get into the early stages of the draft.
Surely this pick shouldn't take long now.
This really
Like,
aggressive approach throughout the trade period in terms of trying to get first round picks in. So they're a club that have done it before, and this is really the first.
and yeah, I wouldn't be. Yeah, Ed Allen would probably be the player you're looking for.
A second round pick and a third round. It's really testing my eyesight there.
27 future second.
I believe Hawks do need to keep back.
Trade has been done, and there's 8 seconds left on the clock for the Hawks.
The other part of this is that the Swans then have an opportunity, and they've always rated those players later in the top 30 as well to have a look at as well. So they clearly think that could be an option there too.
All right, well, the pick is in. We're waiting with bated breath to see what Hawthorn are doing because they've been sitting back. They've obviously seen there is a player on their draft.
I'm going to say Ed Allen.
Available that they're after. So they made the trade with the Sydney Swans, who are on a bid frenzy. And we wait to see what the Hawks have done here with pick 18. And they've taken Josh Weddle.
Yeah, who had been linked to that Swans pick.
Yes.
So clearly they didn't have him in that category. They were happy enough to move back down the order and take someone there. So, and they're obviously confident they're able to get him.
Weddle's a really interesting type, though.
Which has been a bit of a breeding ground for the Hawks as well, and joins up with the Hawks. And look, as you say, Rolly, it's an opportunity now for them to take 2 early selections, 2 top 20 picks as part of this Sam Mitchell-driven rebuild. But
well, that means Lewis Hayes. We can pick him right now if we want to. We can also pick Huswaite if we want to right now. We can just flat out confirm it. So do we take that risk? Do we trade down even? See if we can get maybe an extra pick? Maybe like if we trade down for GWS's 19 and 31. But I think those picks might be a bit lower now because we've had a few bids and father-sons.
I think they're a club that's light. Targeted Denver Granger Brass in the past, but light on defensive options in that key position mould. James Sicily and Chankworth Geath, who they've got at the club as well.
We're normally pretty efficient with our picks, so if it's going to get past if it's going to be less than 3 minutes to go, or like 2.5, I reckon we'll probably trade our picks, because normally we're pretty
alongside them in Hawthorn. So I really like.
We're pretty efficient with this shit, so.
That they're starting to build at the Hawks. I think it's really starting to come together now, and a couple of first round picks in there helps, obviously.
And then Cam Mackenzie in their midfield just bolsters that as well. So the Hawks have done some good things tonight, Cal.
They have, and now I'm really interested in seeing what the Pies do. This is their first pick. What do they do at this selection? Do they hold? Do they move it? Will they get some offers for it? I'm sure of all of that. I think Ed Allen would be right in the conversation at this point. They've been strongly linked to Jacob Ryan for a little while. I think the expectation from most...
I don't think we have interest in Jacob Ryan. I really don't.
There's a lot to work with there. So
if there's anyone in the chat, like, feel free to put your thoughts in as well, but I don't think we have interest in Jacob Ryan.
Interest in as well. Do they try and get in for him before potentially someone else swoops on him as a ruck option? So Charlie Clark's another name that's been popped up for the Magpies. So I think it's most likely to come out of one of those names. But
Clark's available, Cowan's available, Huswaite's available. I mean Barnett's available, but it's way too early for Barnett.
Maybe one day someone
Keeler.
I can spend a night in there and see how it pans out. But it would be fascinating to see what that conversation's like, because I don't know. And everyone says we just go back to...
I mean, I've got fairly good mail that Lemmy's going to be picked up by us, but... I mean... I wouldn't be mad if we picked him up at 19, but, like... I think you can definitely get him at pick 27 and be pretty safe.
But in the end, you got 13 out of 13, so someone expected what happened at the start of the first round to happen. I'm glad it's providing some drama now, though. There's been chaos late in the piece.
It's nice. It's exciting for us and for our viewers out there.
Fair enough. I'm happy with 13. We move on from there.
Yeah, no, I think 13 is pretty damn good if you ask me. So a big tick to you.
Yeah, no, I reckon we're looking for a trade.
2 minutes left here to make a call on who they're going to select. And as we mentioned, they jumped up one to get ahead there, Riley. So a little bonus for them in the end. But Yeah, we'll just wait and see what they do. If you're a Fremantle, a Port Adelaide, a Richmond supporter, we'll see you on night 2 of the draft because
you've had a good trade period. You've had a good trade. You've got Luke Jackson and Jacob Hopper and Tim Tarrant.
You're not featuring in night 1 of the draft, but thank you so much for joining us anyway.
Oh yeah, another one, Braden George. That's another one that. But I mean, yeah, Braden George's going to be out for 12 months. Oh, here we go. Pick is in.
Collingwood's pick is
Come on, Lewis. Get in.
What are they going to do at this pick? Are they going to stick local, or perhaps will they look interstate and see what
Come on, Lewis.
is over the border, perhaps? So,
how far over the border?
I know,
Are we going west?
Come
Are we talking about Ed Allen?
Let's go, Lewis.
If Ed Allen's still there, like I'm surprised Hawthorn didn't take him, to be honest.
Because his dad played 98 games.
No,
there.
I just really like what he has to offer as a player.
I think Josh Weddle is going to be a pretty good option for them too.
I'm okay with Josh Weddle.
I think he's going to be good, and I like the mix of what the Hawks did. Yep. Now over to the Pies, and as we say, so strongly linked to Jacob Ryan, but you have to adjust on the run. And when a player like Ed Allen could get through, and here we
Oh, there we go, Ed Allen.
I think that was always going to happen, to be honest, if once he got to this point of the draft, because you don't want to miss up some opportunities of players like him and what he's got going for him. So
I mean, I'm not mad at it, but at the same time, I just need to look more into what he does.
There's a little bit of point of difference to the Magpies. I don't think they have a player quite like him, probably because there aren't. Well, I think he's going to start as a running midfield / wingman, and I think there's some Mark Blicavs about him. Who knows once he builds up his sort of body.
So is this our Poulter replacement?
It's like as a marking player or even up forward. So look, there's some options for them, but that's the beauty of him. That's why he's such a good pick at this point.
Yeah, and a flexible option given the fact that they. We spoke to Derek Hine about this today, but the fact they strengthened in almost every area of the field throughout the trade period. They brought in Billy Frampton, who'll provide key defensive support for them. They brought in Bobby Hill, who's a really good small forward option. Dan McStay is a really good key forward option for them. Tom Mitchell, who fixed their clearance woes throughout the midfield. So they had such an abundance of players that can fill roles that they brought in throughout the trade period. Ed Allen's a player that they can just layer now, and they can afford to potentially take their time with him. If he needs a couple of years to develop through the VFL, they can do that. If they want him to play a certain role, it can be at all 3 lines. They can do that as well. So I really like this pick for the Pies. They were uncertain if they were going to pick here, I guess, throughout the day and whether or not they would move this pick. But I think once you get here and Ed Allen, the player of his calibre that's still on the board, who, let's not forget, a week ago was being spoken of as a potential top 10 pick, and whether or not he could crack into that mix. And he was certainly a live option for Carlton at pick 11 today. So the fact that he slipped this far down the board, he gets to them at pick 19, I think he's too good to overlook there. The fascination now is what Sydney ultimately do, because they after all that they still don't have any players on their books in this draft. So we'll see what they go with.
Yeah, I didn't think they were never going to get Ryan. Because even Hine, as I said, Hine today was like shocked that his name came up.
As well, Jacob Ryan's still on the board now, so and Lockie Cowan is another. Braden George, they look at him as a medium forward who won't be playing next year with that ACL injury, but still has such ability and talent.
God, tomorrow's going to be so damn exciting.
Well, I was going to say, like, where did you have him?
I think he would have been taken in the top dozen or so selections if he played a full year. Just such would have been his dominance across the season. So there are a few options. The other one is the trade, and I think Melbourne would be getting on the phone as well. They've been willing to offer up a future one.
Yep.
So whether this is the point where they do try and get in, there's only this pick and then the Giants pick to come tonight. So time is running out for the big trades to happen. Obviously, we've seen a big move by the Hawks to get up and snap up Josh Weddle. What's next?
Well, we're waiting. Yeah, a couple more minutes for the Swans. I wonder whether they'll delay even further and maybe make some.
King's got some meat on tonight. he's got his head on the screen.
Yeah, he sure has. In terms
bid trade, it's like duck duck goose.
I like that. Do you reckon we could play a little bit of duck duck goose while we're waiting here? Just talk me through any other bids still to come when we look at father sons, even looking ahead to tomorrow night as well. There's Alwyn Davey Jr. and his twin brother Jaden as well. But what else have we got to look forward to in that regard?
Yeah, I think that he's the main one, and where he ends up, Alwyn Davey. I still think at this point it's looking most likely to fall after the Bombers' next pick, which has been shoved down the order. It's now at number 25. The likelihood, I think, is that it's going to be after that. They'll probably get a read of that overnight, I'd imagine, because he's not going to get bid on here. I wouldn't have thought. I'd be surprised if a bid come here, and that would probably throw out a little bit of their plan. But overall, I think that's the main one that's left over on that front. But we're going to see some good players still on the board tomorrow, regardless of these next couple of picks, because George is still there.
Oh yeah, this was early on where I thought Husway could have gone.
From the Giants, he could be
because I need a replacement for Kennedy.
Probably someone in the 20s or 30s that gets an opportunity. Ollie Houghton's another one.
Can I just say, Bidman's caught on, but Bidney's got to...
Telling you now, if they pick up Husway, I don't know how I'm going to feel about that.
Maybe. We'll see. Are they going to bid? Are they going to pick? Well, they're definitely not trading. That is for sure at this point. Sydney might actually draft their first player, and they have. And then
There you go, Constanti. All right, Hayes is still there.
Who Cal was also a gun soccer player as a junior.
He was a gun soccer player as a junior, and he's a tenacious footballer. He's played in the Gippsland Power line-up alongside Bailey Humphrey, and really close mates with him as well. So I'm sure Bailey would be rapt to see him get his opportunity here. But played a good game here for the Allies, for Vic Country. Kicked 3 goals at this game up at the Gabba. I was sitting there in the sun getting a tan, I would say, watching...
A burn?
I saw you after that, Cal.
That's a faux pas, isn't it? Look, he's a tenacious player. He's a tackler, one of the biggest tacklers and leading tacklers in the NAB League across this year. Fun fact, I think he actually might have been on the phone to Tom Papley a couple of years ago, a small forward out of the Gippsland Power region. So getting some advice for how to play as a small forward. So clearly he'll probably take him under his wing and be a bit of a nagger inside that forward mix.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You'd shudder if you're a small defender on an opposition team with Papley and Constanti, wouldn't you? Because they both like to annoy defenders. They both relish the defensive side of the game. They're going to be 2 of the biggest pests in that Sydney forward line.
The other part of that pick as well is that the Giants had been strongly linked to Constanti too. So you wonder if they got in first to grab him before their next selection. That's sort of maybe part of the buy play as well.
Which is now 27, is it?
Well, the Giants are up. The Giants are up next.
I'm talking about Sydney's next pick.
Sydney's next pick as well. Yeah,
knowing that he wouldn't slide through because the Giants are there and before.
Yeah, so I guess now it's just a matter of what do the Giants want. I'd probably, in terms of the players we want, I'm probably most afraid of probably Husway currently right now.
It could be Jacob Bryan, who's still there. It could be Lockie Cowan's a player who's had a little bit of interest. Braden George is one that we've linked there strongly. I think he'd be a good one for them to pick. I think he'd be a good fit as a goal kicker, as a bit of a point of difference. They're probably not in a rush when they have so many picks coming through the door.
I mean, in fairness to Ed as well, I don't think he's going to be a bad player. It's just that I feel like we just have a lot of positional needs that we need, and as long as we address those in our next picks, we'll be fine. Yeah, we just got to see what's going to happen. But I mean, maybe that was because I mean, theoretically, he could be the Husway option. But I don't know. I'd even though Husway is probably going to be around pick 25, I'd probably rather Husway, to be honest. I don't think we need a ruckman though. I think that's a bit overblown because I think we can always get a ruckman next year. Or if we do get shit luck with injury, I mean the mid-season drafters will definitely have a decent ruckman there too.
The first round of the draft and bring you a little bit more analysis. We'll review Cal's Phantom draft as well. 13 from the first 13. We're going with that. A big tick for Cal Toomey and all his terrific work that he has done throughout the year on the draft. He's an absolute trooper, the best in the business. So we will pay tribute to Cal and all of his hard work.
Keep going.
So as long as we don't have
glowingly about you for another half an hour or so.
But then again, I mean, even if Hayes does go, I'm probably more worried about Husway, to be honest, because Husway's the one we don't have a direct. Oh, but then again, I guess Ed Allen is probably the other similar type, but.
Now that's rare. That doesn't always happen.
Do you think they looked at your Phantom draft and they were like, all right, we've got to invite these people? I reckon that's how they do it.
No, that's how it works.
That's certainly how they do it. But it's so great that, you know, friends.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it. Like, he's going to be a good player. He's just not the player that we want in the position that we probably want to go after. But I mean, Hayes is still there. Lemmy's still there. Husway's still there.
Speaking to a captain somewhere.
So we'll see.
The interesting part of this Giants pick as well is we know their issues in retaining players, and they resurfaced again throughout the trade period when Jacob Hopper and Tim Taranto requested to move to Victoria. But they've brought in so far with 2 of their first 3 picks. They've brought in Aaron Cadman, who they would have felt pretty confident with, given the fact that he's a boy from out of town. He would have had to.
All right, pick is in. Who do we get?
For the Greater Western Victorian Rebels throughout the year, and also Harry Rouston, who's an academy prospect, a local boy as well, who they would.
I just hope it's not Huswaite.
In terms of him spending his future.
Because Giants definitely need some midfielders after losing Hopper and Taranto. And
I haven't traded it, so it looks like they've made a selection.
Huswaite's definitely in this bracket.
And we wait for a name to come up here, but very exciting. I've got some nervous anticipation about what they do here, and it's Darcy Jones.
Oh God, thank you. Yes.
Football club
Oh.
in WA, and he broke a 14-year record, Cal, at the combine when it came to the 20-metre sprint.
That was the agility, actually.
Sorry, it was. That was Ed Allen.
That was Ed Allen. He was terrific too. 7.7 seconds in the agility.
Wait, what's that? Ed Allen broke the 20-metre sprint, the record. Okay, well, there you go. That's definitely something. Yeah, I definitely don't think he's going to be a bad player at all. It's just that it's a very left field pick. In terms of what we probably want him to do, so it's a risk, and let's just hope it pays off.
Taking him over Charlie Clark has been so strongly linked, so he might get through. Obviously, it's a night too, but might get through a few more spots after that.
A player that thinks he'll start his career as a small forward, and obviously the Giants lost Bobby Hill throughout the trade period. They did bring in Toby Bedford to replenish their small forward stocks, but he's another option that can go forward for them and start his career there. I really like him through the midfield because, as you mentioned, he's got that agility, he's got that zip, he's got that pace. I reckon you have to overlook his height. The player I think of when I watch him play is Zach Fisher from Carlton, in the sense that he's got the sidestep and he's got the 5-yard breakaway out of stoppage. So I think he's one that definitely can evolve into being a midfielder at AFL level. I really like what I've seen from him this year, a good character as well off the field. So they bring in a really high-level character, which we know they did target when we spoke to him about Aaron Cadman and what he'd bring into the football club. Brought another really good player in here.
So that is the first round of the 2022 NAB AFL Draft done and dusted. We will be back in a short while to unpack it all and analyse it and recap it. But we always look forward to seeing what these new draftees can put out on the footy field. Cannot wait for 2023. But let's just go back in time a little bit and recap what our draft class of 2021 was able to put out on the footy field this year.
Searching for a friend. He found one in Larky. Now Horn Francis! Believe the hype!
He pulls it in the middle of both Long and King. It works. Owens for his first goal in AFL footy.
Burn Jones released to Josh Ward. Could this be his first goal in the AFL? Josh Ward! He's got it! 48 metres. Gibcus looks online.
Oh, alright, so at least I know what I'm going to be doing after this stream. Watching some Ed Allen highlights.
He's known for being a reliable finish, and that is why he's Deadeye Giant, who kicks his first goal in the AFL with his first kick. Still keeping it alive, Himmelberg and Canelio craft something out of this. It'd be great to see the first game of Callahan get one. There's something for GWS.
Tries to open up the angle. Caught. Flicked the handball over the top. Big moment, Richelli. That's what they recruited him for.
Continuing the Motlop tradition. All of them have been handy around goals. He's no exception. Jesse Motlop sparks celebrations on the ground and in the stand.
Got a famous name from 45 directly in front. Nails it, of course he does.
Can he get it this time? Bending it back. It's home. Ben Hobbs has got his first goal in the big time. Coleman was under pressure. Little handball comes out. Opportunity here. Kaczynski got over the top. Didn't they do that absolutely delightfully as Butler kicks the goal?
And he launches nicely and got it there.
Norton comes from behind with big, tall Sam Darcy, a famous name of the football club. Sam Darcy kicks his first in the big time. The dogs come from everywhere.
Sinclair with the hands. Jones, you'll hear the echo. Windager charging through. Gets a shot at goal.
Oh, so, yeah, I guess at the end of the day, that's that's the first round done, I think. And yeah, we're gonna be back doing this tomorrow. What time do we start tomorrow? Is it 3 o'clock? Either way, we'll obviously get we'll definitely get organised and definitely be streaming this again. Find out what other players we're gonna be getting.
Four Suns around it, stolen away from them. Brilliant by Erasmus. Unbelievably good from Neil Erasmus. Fought back from a knee injury to get his chance and kick his first goal. Messiah Wanganeen-Miller for his first goal in AFL footy. He's got it. And that is right through the middle. There's now two Sarongs. Here's a chance. Dacos. Famous name, famous number, famous club. He gets his first.
That was the draft class of 2021, and about 25 of those prospects kicking their first ever goal in the AFL. Now that is the first round of the 2022 NAB AFL Draft completed. It's time now to recap it. We want the winners. There's no losers. The surprises and what is in store, of course, for night 2, because it is the Giants that hold the first pick of night 2. That's pick 22. But Cal, let's recap what has happened so far. And it all started, of course, with Aaron Cadman and the Giants taking him with pick number 1.
Yeah, that's right. There was no surprises in the top 10. Everyone read that on Saturday night. Aaron Cadman at pick 1, as we probably thought it was going to be the case. The bid came for Will Ashcroft clearly at pick 2. Harry Sheasel, George Wardlaw, they've been zeroed in on those two for a long time. The half forward who's a gun in front of goal, and Wardlaw, the midfielder. This was the big pick. The Bombers had big offers
You were
for
nervous.
it. Yeah, I mean, I had a thought that, Elijah Sardis, given his dominance across this year when he played, sometimes you go back to what the course of the year is told, and he's always been ranked around that part of the draft for a lot of clubs. A lot of clubs had him there, so I think that pick made a lot of sense. And in the end, if it's that even as well, if it's a 51 v 49 split, the local factor would have to come into the decision-making too. He's from the Oakey Chargers. They bring him in. Point of difference to their midfield. Don't worry about that. Bailey Humphrey, obviously, just on the Bombers pick, the Demons were trying to get up to that pick. So had the Bulldogs had some interest. The Gold Coast had considered jumping one to make sure they could get Bailey Humphrey. In the end, they could stay and grab him there, and they did, because he's a gun and he'll be really good for them. Cam McKenzie at the Hawks. That was a big selection too, Riley, because we weren't sure which way they were going to go between McKenzie, Clark, Jimby, even Filippo there.
Talk to us about the next phase of the draft, Cal, because we know...
I'm actually really happy for St Kilda to the fact that even though they put a lot of time into Mackenzie, they still got a very good player in Matthias. I mean, they're definitely different types of players, but yeah, they've definitely done really well with getting Matthias for sure.
Who of course was an option for them throughout the year, but then we knew that what they did there would mix up the order a little bit further on.
Yeah, it was Bid City in the second half of the second half of the first round. So Jasper Fletcher, the bid came for him from the from the Bulldogs. They matched that. The Lions. Then the bid came from the Swans for Harry Rouston. Yep. Then the Swans from Max Michelini as well. So 3 in that group.
And then they traded it.
Then they traded it out. So the Swans got out of there. The Hawks came up and picked Josh Birtle. But you're right, Riley. Surprising, probably with Elijah Hewitt ahead of Ed Allen. That was the choice of the locals, and also the choice of Matt Jefferson too for the Eagles, who was in the mix for that selection. The D's will be rapt to get Matt Jefferson there. I think it's a really good pick to bring in a key forward into their club and into their mix. They didn't have to move up. They had some interest prior to the draft in trading up to make sure they could get him. In the end, they stuck fat and were able to get him at that point. Ed Allen got through a little bit later than I thought he would. And as soon as he got to the Pies, we thought that was probably too good an opportunity for them to pass up, given that he got to that part of the draft. And he's stark improvement across the second
Yeah,
half.
you just had to pick him up at that point.
The Swans finally made a pick. A couple of bids, did their trade, and then took some time to make the pick and grab Jacob Constanti. And then the final pick of night one was Darcy Jones, who was probably viewed around this part of the draft. The Giants had shown a fair bit of interest in him. A smaller type, but a point of difference as well to what they've got. Can play in all 3/3 of the ground, and certainly an exciting player and good character as well.
I mean, Cal, before the draft started, we talked about the Giants and how crucial it was for them to, I guess, nail their picks because they had so many in the first round. I know the Harry Rouston bid from Sydney threw a spanner in the works for them. How do you rate what they've done, though, in terms of what is now on their list?
Well, it's definitely come earlier than they would have hoped. That wasn't the plan coming into tonight, to have to match the bid with your second selection. But they did it. They still want the player. They grabbed him. They had the opportunity not to take him. If they didn't want him and they rated other players on the board, they wouldn't have had to take him. So they clearly viewed him as that around that part of the draft. Does it change their view heading into tomorrow? That's the really interesting part for me now. They've got the first pick of tomorrow. They'll field calls and offers and a magnitude of interest in that next selection. But because of that bid, does that change how they essentially look at their overall haul? Because they get the key forward at number one in Cadman. They get Harry Rouston, the midfielder, to bring into that group. And they get Darcy Jones as a small. Do they take the next pick or do they trade it and sell it and spend the next 24 hours listening to calls?
Well, let's say they take it. Who are the players that are on the board still? Who are the players that you think will be the first ones taken on the second?
Well, not necessarily even if they take it. I think these are the guys that are going to be the players that clubs come and try and get too. Harry Barnett is a player that I think will be on the radar of a lot of clubs.
Harry Barnett's easily, if you want to go pure rucks, he's the best ruck in the draft.
Some clubs might try to push up the order to get. I feel like clubs in the early or mid-20s part of the draft now should be starting to think about moving up a few spots for the cost of a future second to try and grab him. And that's been the case, or price in the past, to move up those few spots on night two. So there are a couple. I think Lockie Cowan's another one. I think Jacob Ryan, as both rebounding halfbacks, will be in that mix. Charlie Clark is another one as well. So they're the group that I feel like will be there tomorrow. And my voice is going. I'm not sure my voice will be there tomorrow, but I think they'll be there in the early part of the draft tomorrow.
Oh, we cannot wait for what is still to come, and that is it from us for tonight. Cal, go rest your voice. It's certainly not over. We will be back tomorrow night for night 2 of the 2022 NAB AFL Draft. Cal Riley, fantastic job tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow. And well done, of course, to Sarah Ollie, who was doing all of our interviews at Marvel. She did a fabulous job. Once again, a big congratulations to all of the players who were drafted tonight. I know it might be a long and nervous wait ahead for many of you out there, but try to get a good night's sleep and join us again tomorrow for NAB AFL Draft Night Live. We'll catch you then.
Alright, so one thing we can do right now, which is a little bit left field, is we can look up Ed Allen highlights and maybe do a bit of a breakdown. That's probably, I think, what we might do right now. So we'll just go ahead and do that real quick. I'm probably gonna show my whole entire computer in the process, but get the alright, let's Ed Allen. Okay, so Edward Allen. Alright, so this is the player we picked up. In fact, I might just... There we go. So, for those wanting to know, this is who Collingwood picked up. In fact, I might actually make this full screen. Come on. There we go. Alright, we'll start from the start again. Sorry guys for the but here we go. So this is Edward Allen highlights, and so this is who Collingwood have picked up. I keep changing that. Let's see if we can get. There we go. I believe he's number 7 there. So, for those who don't know, in the combine, he actually, I believe, he broke the record for the 20-meter sprint, and then I think they also did a 2K time trial. But not only did he do the 2K time trial as well, but he had both really good records for both. So he's not only quick off the mark, but he can also run all day. So from a stats point of view, and from a the ability to play the game and everything like that, he's, if you want a pure athlete, this is definitely one of those pure athlete types. So, and yeah, and then after that, you just got to make sure that you got skills. And I mean, I know I just saw like a pass right there, perfectly fine. That's not him kicking it, I don't think. No. But yeah, there you go. He's in the midfield getting the ball. We'll just replay that because we can. Oh, no, maybe not.
Didn't realize he had some pressure from behind. It didn't matter. Capping off an excellent championship.
So we'll just play that again. So yeah, number 7, I believe. So people are saying that he's also the Blitzars, Mark Blitzars of the draft. I believe Blitzars is a bit taller, but obviously, yeah, it's just that we've gone for that athletic type. So you can see how he's, you know, probably he's not, I guess, in the sense of he looks extremely polished from a disposal point of view, but you can just see like he's just running around the ground. Fitness is, you know, at the level of elite. So obviously I'm gonna probably try and do a bit more of a breakdown. I mean, there's another one here. I don't believe there's any sound for this one. But yeah, obviously this is the player we've got. I probably do, to be fair, I do probably need a bit of time to sort of like let it sink in, the fact that we've got this player now. But the idea and the theory behind it, I don't mind it. I really don't, in all seriousness. I think we're gonna, and again too, I mean, this guy's gonna come in and he'll be a part of his first year, so I'm not expecting him to be. I mean, if he becomes like a Bont-like player, if that makes any sense, like I'm not expecting him to be, you know, the Bont of day one right now. But this is a guy where if he puts everything together and he becomes a very quote unquote polished player, and he polishes all of like he's disposal by foot, by hand, he's marking. This is just a pure athlete that has enough skills to where he could. I mean, yeah, he could very well be a very serious player. So, yeah, no, I definitely can see. Would Hayes have been a better pick? Well, that's the thing. So, I think when it comes to Hayes, Hayes is a flat out key defender. Let me see if I can get some like B-roll for Ed Allen. Okay, let's see if we can get this.
Heading into the draft, feeling pretty confident. Hasn't been on my mind too much, so
yeah. So in terms of the players, I mean, when it comes to Hayes, Hayes is a very specific type that you're going after and getting. So when you go after Hayes, like you're going after a key defender. If we want a pure Jordan Roughhead, a Jordan Roughhead key defender, Hayes is a perfect option. But that's the thing, we don't know where Hayes is going to fall because Hayes actually hasn't been picked up yet. So, you know, and then there's, you know, there's Huswaite, there's, you know, Hayes, and then there's also, if we want to go as a key forward in terms maybe like a Harry Lemmy. But the other thing too is that we have backup options. So if we don't get Hayes, Ethan Phillips. If Ethan Phillips will definitely be there at pick 27. He's probably listed to go maybe mid-30s. We can get some. I mean, God, if you guys just want to chill in the chat, I mean, I'm more than happy just to bring up highlights of all the players and discuss it. But yeah, it would have been nice to get Hayes, but I think with just what we want currently right now, this is not a bad pick whatsoever. You kind of got to get your head around it a little bit, to be fair. But if Hayes and Huswaite are there at 25 and 27, I mean, you could. I don't know if you can call it the perfect draft effort or whatever, but it's a pretty good draft effort. So we'll just quickly go and see what this video is about. Maybe even turn up the resolution.
Heading to the draft.
Here we go, 4K.
Feeling pretty confident. Hasn't been on my mind too much, so yeah, feeling good. Yeah, try not to think about it too much, but yeah, just taking it as I come. My 2022 as a whole was probably somewhat disappointing in that I had my stress fracture in my back that kept me out for the first 3 months of the season, so it's definitely good to come back and play some good footy, and to get the National Combine invite, that was a good honour as well.
Yep.
Yeah, my dad played footy back in the day, so he's been a great support with me. I probably haven't really thought about it too much as an AFL player. I've more just thought about him as my dad's. It's definitely good fun to switch on the TV and watch some of his old games when they come on Fox Footy. It's funny to watch him run around. Yeah, I played for Mosman Park Redbacks. We always had a pretty good team. We won back-to-back flags, a lot of lifelong friends there, and yeah, it was great fun at Mosman Park. Yeah, I think I'll be pretty anxious on draft day. I'll probably have to be doing something to take my mind off it. I do feel physically and mentally prepared to join an AFL club. I'd obviously love to stay around my family and friends. That would be great, but if I have to move, I'd love to travel. Yeah, wherever I go, I'll take the opportunity with both hands.
So I'm already getting not. I mean, it's vibes in the sense of not that it's a one-to-one, he is this player, but I'm getting vibes of like a Nathan Murphy right now. So for those, and for me to explain that, Nathan Murphy, and it's a bit difficult to see right now because he's basically been this like key defender for us. Nathan Murphy's key defensive skills are probably his second or third best traits in terms of him as a footballer. And I think that's another thing too, is that you'll see next year, Murphy's actually probably going to become more of a Jeremy Howe type in the sense where he's probably a bit more of half-back, maybe even wing. Ed Allen is kind of in the similar vein where, and because he is 194, he could probably even play that key defensive role. Would probably need to bulk up a bit. But this is a guy where you can pretty much, except for probably maybe the forward line, because for the highest we saw, we didn't see much of him kicking goals. But this guy can pretty much play anywhere because he's like athletic. Like he's a utility player in the sense that, you know, because I think prior to the word like utility, it's definitely changed over the years or the last couple of years. But this is a guy that you literally put him in the side and it just works. So that's and similar to sort of Nathan Murphy in a sense. So yeah, no, I'm like the more I'm looking at it, the more I'm seeing it. Like I'm liking this pick, to be honest. But I'll look at some like the questions. I know a few people have asked a few questions. Yeah, I mean, Darius, it comes down to what we need most, and For me, when it comes to Ed Allen, he's very much of a Huswaite type. So this might mean we might maybe miss out on Huswaite. But if we get him to, I mean, that'd be absolutely great. You can see that there's a lot of like, you know, composure, a lot of not elite skill, but you can see the skill there. But the thing that makes him special is that the ability of him being this big athlete. And when I say big athlete, I mean like the fact that he can sprint, he can run long distances, so he has the endurance. There's a lot to work with. And you know, especially with me knowing who our development coaches are, I fully back in our development coaches with this pick. You know, again, it's left field. It's a bit like, oh, don't know. Nah. Like if this guy went to a club where I'm just gonna throw a club out there in terms of, let's say, like in Adelaide, he probably may not make it, and he might be a bust. But you get him into an environment like Collingwood, like the fact that we've got our development coaches. I believe they were talking him up as like a midfielder, but something tells me he might play maybe a little bit of defense, maybe a little bit of wing even. So similar to like Nathan Murphy in a sense. But yeah, I mean, he's probably gonna take a bit of time, but he's got enough skills to where he's obviously good enough. I mean, to be at our pick for one, and I think you'll see that the fact that we've literally the fact that this is him day one as a Collingwood player. You see this kid, and you see him in 3, 4, 5 years' time. I guarantee you he'll be a 10th. Sorry, not a 10th. He'll be 10 times the player he is now. But that comes down to a lot of factors, and that's got a lot to do with the club, and the club is going to get in there. So yeah, as I said, the more I look at it, the more I'm actually really liking this. But I'll go on to some of the other questions. Yeah, so regardless, I don't know, obviously, because, I mean, you know, it's not like I speak to Derek Hine and Graham Wright every day. But I would be shocked if we don't pick up a key position player. It's just that the fact that we picked, obviously, ability over needs. And Ed Allen, from an ability point of view, will probably be a better player, but obviously for Hayes in the position that he plays, he's the best. I would probably say he's probably the best player for his position that he currently does, and that is being that Jordan Roughhead type that defends that big monster key forward. You definitely need those types, but when you have someone like an Ed Allen, obviously he's one of those guys where he has all the tricks all the potential tricks in the bag, because he doesn't have obviously all the tricks, but enough to work with, enough to just tell your development coaches, here's this player, turn him into something. And you've already got so many things to work with as a development coach. So, he's definitely going to be one to watch for sure. Would you see us trading up? Well, that's the thing. We've got picks 25 and 27. And the fact that we are at pick, what did we finish off with? Pick, I believe, did we finish off with 22? So if that's the case, we'll start tomorrow with pick 23. So, and then I think but you got to take into account 25 and 27 plus the bidding and all that stuff. So 25 would be maybe like 29, and then 27 would be like 31. So it's definitely picks to trade up for sure, because, you know, though the 22 is very close, obviously 29 and 31, if they are where those picks are. I mean, I'm only guessing, but you know, it's high enough picks where, you know, a club will say, okay, yeah, I'm happy to take that. But then that's also, you know, you'd probably want, I'm trying to think of a club that would have, I don't know, maybe like a mid-30s or something, as well, because you don't really want to be trading 2 picks for 1. But, you know, that's the position that we're in. So, yeah, we're definitely in the position where we can do it. It's just a matter of situation and how it all plays out, I guess. Well, the beauty with Allen is that he can play any. I reckon he's going to be one of those players where he can play anywhere, whether that's a third tall in defense, whether that's a midfielder. I mean, if he bulks up and gets really strong, he can be a contested ball winning inside mid pretty much. I mean, 194 centimeters, you could chuck him in the forward line. You know, if he gets some form going, I mean, you're looking at like a Myercheck sort of, you know, if he has that sort of Myercheck sort of aggressiveness and just the willing of just, the will of just competing. I mean, he could be a forward as well. Like, I just think he's just one of those guys where it's just, he's that 18th player where it's just, shit, we don't know. Or sorry, no, that 19th player that is on the bench right now. But then when you put him into the game, you can literally put him anywhere and he'll do well. Other than maybe being a ruckman or whatever, but I'm sure you know what I mean. But yeah, so I mean, at the moment, his highlights are showing that he's a mid. I'll see if I can get some more footage if I can find it. Because it's just Oscar Allen at this point. Elijah Hewitt, that's not helping me out. Ed Allen. I'm surprised the AFL haven't done a video on him. I'm sure they have. Oh no, they have. Oh no, yeah, this was the first one we showed. Yeah, alright, well, I'll just put this one anyway. But yeah, I mean, like, it's so far, it's a left field pick. I actually really like it, because as I said, in the draft combine, normally when you have people go through the draft combine, you have people that have a really good sprint, but then they don't have the endurance, or a really good endurance, but they don't have the sprint. He actually has both. And that's why he was drafting. Sorry, that's why he was bolting up the draft boards, because of that. So at the end of the day, yeah, he's just an athlete, and we just got to get him in, and we just got to develop him. And you know, the quicker he is to improve his disposal, which I mean, by the looks of it, I mean, I know it's highlights, but I mean, if his disposals are already at like say a 70%. Or 60-70%, there's really not a lot of work that has to go into it. It's just at that point you just got to make sure he just, you know, does the right things, and he bulks up and develops nicely. So yeah, I mean, if he wants a career, he'll definitely get it if he wants to buy into having a good career. So it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of him wanting to do that. I mean, I'm sure at this point he would do anything he would do whatever it takes, sorry, to be that player to
G'day everyone, we're back again.
Getting Pommy on the channel. That actually might be something we might be able to do in the future potentially. But yeah, I mean, that's probably about it. I don't know where I'd probably want to take the stream from here, because there's not really a lot of content to go off, at least from a Collingwood point of view. But yeah, as I said, like, it's a lot of there's not a lot of certainty around this player, and not a lot of certainty around the picks. In fact, I might just loop this actually. That might be the go, and I might mute it too. But yeah, I mean, like, at the end of the day, that's really what you're looking at, is that you're looking at an athlete that's more than willing to make a career of it. And it's, I mean, the Blitzarves comparison is an interesting one, because the plan, like the plan and the way that they want to treat Blitzarves is right for Ed Allen. But he's not going to, I mean, yeah, he's just, but obviously, you know, Blitzarves, I believe, is like nearly 2 meters, if he's not 2 meters, and Allen's about 194 at the moment. So, I mean, but then again, I mean, God, if he grows, I mean, that'd be an absolute bonus, because, you know, I mean, he could potentially be that key back that we might need. So, if he goes from 194 to, geez, I mean, how, like, because I think, for an example, I think Cripps was originally 192 in his draft. Patrick Cripps from Carlton. But he literally had an off season, I believe, in his like second year, and he grew 4 centimeters, and he's now 196 centimeters. So, not saying that is going to happen to him, but I mean, it just opens up the ability for so many possibilities. So, oh, there you go, and he kicks the goal there. But obviously that's not going to tell you the story if he's an accurate kick or not. But I mean, yeah, he looks good. Yeah, so if anyone wants to sound off on the comments on their thoughts and stuff, yeah, as I said, it's a bit of a left field pick, but I really like, the more I talk about it, the more I rate it. Like, it's yeah, and you know, like, you can only have so many people in the midfield too. So when, you know, you have, like, I know we're gonna have Penderbury no longer around much longer, Sidey the same, Tay the same too. Even though we just signed him up, but you know, Mitchell may only be here for 3 years. Someone's got to take over, but also as well too, we've got like defenders and forwards in the same bracket too. Like, you know, Checkers isn't going to be around forever. Howe isn't going to be around forever. Crisp isn't going to be around forever. So these guys are just, like, the fact that we have someone like Allen, he's just going to plug in the hole that we need most filled. Which I think is fantastic. I'm actually, it's actually really surprising how much I've turned in the last 20 minutes. It's not that I hated the pick, but I've definitely changed a bit of my my time. Sorry, my takes already. The fact that, like, you know, I thought that it was maybe a 6 or 7 out of 10. Now it's getting up to about an 8 or 9 now. And God, I mean, by tomorrow I might consider it be a 10 out of 10. But yeah, we'll just see how it goes. Like, as I said, he is. He's not raw in the sense of being raw, but like, yeah, with a bit of development and a bit of luck going his way, God, this kid, he can be really good. So it's going to be up to him to obviously be that amazing player, or to be the amazing player that he wants to be. But yeah, I mean, if you can get his skills up, I think we'll definitely be looking back and saying that Ed Allen should have been not even a top 10 pick, but a top 5 pick. Because yeah, he's everything from an athletic point of view. He's got down pat. So yeah, so we'll just have to see how that plays out. But yeah, if there's anyone in the chat that wants to ask any more questions, I mean, I'm happy to discuss potential things that could potentially happen tomorrow. So yeah, just go for your life in terms of any questions. But yeah. So actually, maybe we could do this. So in the chat, just either put down your thoughts on Edward Allen. Like, are you happy with it? Are you not happy with it. Do you want to give it a rating out of 10? Like, where do you, like, you know, where, you know, I guess in a sense, where do you see Ed Allen currently as we speak, and do you see the upside of him? Because I believe, just so I can make sure, I believe he is 18. So he's obviously, yeah, he's definitely 18. Oh, and the other thing we've completely skipped over too is that Ben Allen, his dad, also had a very good career ahead of him as well. So he's got football in his blood, this kid. So yeah, we just got to back in our development coaches, and we just got to back in the people that that we essentially would back in with every other player that we have on the list that needs more development. So yeah, nothing too different. Just for tomorrow as well, I will be streaming tomorrow as well. I know we had a few hiccups today, so I do apologize for that. But yeah, there's going to be a bit more excitement, hopefully, for tomorrow. I believe I'll just quickly look up. I believe it's a 3 o'clock start tomorrow. So if we are able to be a part of that, that'll be sick. Yeah, I might have to. Oh, it's on KO. It was on KO tonight too. Interesting. Oh, apparently Tuesday 6:30. Okay, my bad. Rookie draft was 3 p.m. That's what I was thinking. That was what I was thinking of. Alright. But yeah. But yeah, no, make sure to put your thoughts in the comments below. Yeah, are you guys happy with the pick? Do you have any? In fact, actually, this is probably the best question of them all. What concern, like, if you have any concerns, what's your biggest concern about Edward Allen? And speaking more about Edward Allen, the footballer, rather than saying that we need a key defender, because I mean, clearly this is a utility player. So this wasn't our, like, with our 2 other picks. You know, if we're gonna have a key defender, I mean, I was just about to say Sam Hayes. We still have Lewis Hayes available, so we could potentially trade up, because I know someone was asking, Daraz, I think you said, could we trade up? I mean, we could very well trade up for Hayes. I believe I saw one phantom draft of I think Essendon was gonna take him at pick 22. Actually, Alwyn David didn't get picked up. I was actually surprised about that. I thought he was gonna be a first rounder. Because he's younger, or I don't know if they're younger or older. But the other brother, who I believe did an ACL, yeah, those two kids were gonna get picked up. But I thought Alwyn was around. Oh, I mean, he could probably be an early second. I mean, there's nothing from stopping that. But yeah, definitely wouldn't be surprised if both. Well, Alwyn's definitely going to be picked up. I would assume second round somewhere, and then I don't think of his brother's name. I think it's like Jackson Davey. I'm sure if you guys know, you guys will put it in the comments. But yeah, But no, I think that'll pretty much be it for me, I think. Would like to thank everybody for the support. As I said before, I do apologize for the issues that we had. Obviously we fixed it now, so we should be good to go tomorrow. But yeah, definitely won't have any issues going into tomorrow. So hopefully, fingers crossed that that is the case. And yeah, plenty of talent left. Plenty of talent left. Hayes, Huswaite, Lemmy, Phillips, Keeler, Barnett, Charlie Clark, Lockie Cowan, Jacob Bryan is even still available too. Even I had a feeling that we were never going to get Jacob Bryan. In fact, I don't even know why he was at our pick in the first place, to be honest. Because we've already, I mean, we could go for another another dashing defender. But with Noble, Quainer, and even like potentially Dacos probably having one more year. There's definitely a lot of dash. Even Rusco could be that dashing defender. Yeah, it's definitely something we've got plenty of. So I was really surprised. We actually did go after. Oh, sorry, we were rumored to be linked to a Jacob Ryan, but and even Hein even said today, like you could just see the expression in his face of when Jacob Ryan's name came up and he was like, "Huh, what? Huh?" So yeah, obviously I don't know where they got that information from, but at least from the first round, I don't think we had any interest in picking him up in the first round. Might be maybe a pick 25 or 27, but I still doubt it. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for me. Alright, so we'll obviously finish up here. Make sure to tune in, I believe. So saying he's 6:30, so right now, unless if it changes, which I don't think it will, we will be back here at 6:30 tomorrow. And we'll get the stream going, and we'll obviously see the rest of our picks. Because I think I do believe that we're gonna try and get a pick trade out one of our picks for a future pick. So with how we do that, I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, we'll just have to see how that all goes. But as I said, there's plenty of talent left. Yeah, as I said, in terms of key defenders, like Hayes would be your main option, then Phillips will be your backup. Phillips is your guarantee. Like you're gonna be guaranteed to get Phillips, and he's some could even argue that Phillips is actually you could make an argument that Phillips is on par or maybe even better than Hayes, especially the fact that Phillips I can see playing straight away. So we've definitely got some options there. Then with the forwards, you got Keeler and Harry Lemmy. I mean, again, two options there, so we're guaranteed to probably get one of those. Midfield. I mean, I think we already picked up our midfielder in Allen, but Huswaite's another one if we wanted to go another tall midfielder. And then Ruckman, you've obviously got Harry Barnett if we're serious in getting a Ruckman, but knowing that we're really not far off from getting Sam Hayes next year, that wouldn't surprise me if that's in the pipeline at the end of next year too. So we're not really that desperate, and Coxie can hold his own at least for 12 months. Yeah, so no need to panic. Definitely a great pickup, just not who we thought we were going to pick up. And yeah, I feel like this outro's gone for like 20-30 minutes. But yeah, no, make sure to like and subscribe as well too, if you haven't already, to stay up to date with future content, because I will be making content. Like I am trying my absolute best to get back. Because yeah, I feel like I can definitely create some value on this platform with a lot of my takes and opinions and all that stuff. So yeah, just let's hope that this is the start of something really great on this channel. And yeah, with that said, yeah, we'll finish it off here. So hopefully, if you like the stream, please like the stream. I literally just answered that question, Kev. So if you listen to the streams, you'd actually know the answer, or at least paid attention and stayed in the streams. Anyway, you just screwed the outro. Anyway, so obviously this is the end of the stream. If you like the stream, please give the stream a like. If you want more of my content, please subscribe for future content. But yeah, without further ado, that is it, and that is all. And yeah, I will see you guys tomorrow as we stream day 2 of the draft. I'll see you guys then. Alright, see you guys.